Chapter 687. Back at his tree hole, Leah didn't start cooking. Instead, he laid on Gu Mingming's knees and looked up at her. I don't like Burke. I hate it when he uses Kamwu to get close to you with a face similar to UC Jean's. Gu Mingming cupped Lee's face and kissed the tip of his nose. Then she smiled and said, It's impossible for Burke and I to be together. You know very well that I'm just acting according to Cole's script, to lure him out and get rid of him. Leah held the back of Gu Mingming's head with one hand, not allowing her to escape easily. He deepened the kiss in a domineering and lingering way. His misty eyes were filled with infatuation as he licked his lips, satisfied with the sweetness that belonged to her between his teeth. This made him feel much better, but he could not let go of the matter regarding Burke. Even if we don't follow Cole's script, he will still appear. After the kiss, Leah became much gentler. His voice was soft but firm. I can't stand the sight of you standing together with Burke. It's too glaring. I won't be able to resist tearing him apart. Gu Mingming looked at Leah with an indescribable feeling. Leah had been behaving strangely these few days. He seemed to be very stubborn and jealous. It was hard to understand why he would bare his teeth at Elvis and show an aggressive expression just because he wanted to hug her. After all, he had taken the risk of losing her to push her into Elvis's arms. Gu Mingming caressed Lee's face. Is there something on your mind? I feel that you've been acting weird recently. Leah placed his hand over Gu Mingming's. His long and narrow eyes were filled with affection. He gazed at Gu Mingming. Wanting to possess you is all that's on my mind. So, are you going to fulfill my wish? Gu Mingming chuckled. She wrapped her arms around Lee's neck. You don't have to. I'm yours. Leah chuckled devilishly. He whispered into Gu Mingming's left ear. I mean, monopolize. Gu Mingming was taken aback. She instinctively looked at Elvis. She frowned in rebuke. Leah. Leah smiled awkwardly and leaned back, increasing the distance between them. He sighed softly and said, Now you're not even willing to lie to me? Gu Mingming was helpless. She did not know what was wrong with Leah. Why was he fighting with Burke? He was clearly on good terms with Elvis in the past, and he was also able to handle Snake with ease. Leah had never seen Oriton and Ian around her before. So why was Burke having such a special honor that made him so jealous? Leah brushed his hands and said, It's fine if it's Elvis, but the others can't. If you go out alone with Burke again, I'll dispose of him as a rival in love. Gu Mingming felt helpless. Although she felt that she would definitely be able to touch Cole if she followed Burke's lead. But if the men at home really minded, she could only do it. Shrugging his shoulders, he said, all right, don't be so nervous over an unrelated person. If you really don't like him, I won't interact with Burke anymore. We'll think of another way to deal with Cole. Anyway, even if we let him off, he won't let us off. So there will always be another way. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin and kissed her on the lips as a reward. Then he said gently, Good girl. Chapter 688. After giving up on the plan of using Burke to lure Cole out, there was no need for the tribesmen to continue recuperating on the spot. Oriton and Ian arranged everything according to plan, and the next morning, everyone was ready to set off towards St. Nazaire under Gu Mingming's command. Burke would invite Gu Mingming to accompany the three Kamwa brothers to hunt with him every morning, but Gu Mingming never agreed. Every time, she would just reply with you guys go, I'm not going. She did not even have an excuse to avoid it. But even so, Burke still insisted on appearing before Gu Mingming every morning, telling her roughly where he would be training the Kamwa brothers that day, what kind of ferocious beasts they would encounter, and what kind of heroic performances the children might have. At the start, Gu Mingming rejected all of them. But to Gu Mingming, participating in the children's progress was not a small temptation. But every time she was almost convinced by Burke and wanted to tag along, Leah would suddenly jump out and pull Gu Mingming into his arms, before baring his fangs at Burke to threaten him. Sometimes he would attack with his claws and sometimes he would whip Burke with his large tail. Burke was like a block of wood. He did not retaliate or get angry after being hit. Gu Mingming knew that this was a process all males had to go through when wooing a female. Before obtaining the female's approval to become a member of the family, A single male who approached a female's territory would naturally be treated as an intruder and chased away. There could only be three outcomes. Either the wooer was so strong that the original partner could not do anything to him, or the original partner was so strong that the wooer would be chased away or even killed, or the female would be touched and accept the wooer as her partner. Only the three aforementioned scenarios could end this conflict. Burke was a third-level beast like Leah. Although he was not at his peak condition, and might not be Lee's match, he was not completely helpless. But he just stood there and let himself be beaten, so that he could put on a submissive attitude, so that they could get along better after becoming a family. Gu Mingming sighed. It seemed like Burke was serious about her. With this understanding, whenever Burke came to invite her, Gu Mingming would just avoid him. In order to prevent Leah, who was like fire and water with Burke due to his recent jealousy, from accidentally killing Burke, Gu Mingming would pester Leah to hug her so that Elvis could reject Burke's invitation. The team with 18 females moved as slow as a snail. 5 days later, they finally arrived near Saint Nazaire. Tidy up and rest. Elvis carried Gu Mingming in his arms, raised his hand and gave his orders. These 4 simple words sounded like an imperial edict that couldn't be defied. Everyone could only submit to him. Burke walked over again. This was his second time looking for Gu Mingming today. Chapter 689. The concept of a graduation ceremony. Gu Mingming was actually very tempted. The children had been training persistently every day. These few days, they did not even come back for dinner, and ate their own prey with Burke. This made Gu Mingming very upset, as if her children had been snatched away. But she did not want to forcefully tie the children to her side. Their intelligence did not match their age. They had the ability to judge and know who they wanted to be with. Leah walked up and grabbed Burke's neck. His long fingernails grew out at a speed visible to the naked eye and pinched into the flesh on Burke's neck. Blood trickled down and dripped onto the ground along Burke's neck. Get lost quietly before I kill you. Burke was not afraid. He looked at Gu Mingming calmly, completely disregarding Lee's threat. His attitude successfully infuriated Leah. Lee's fingers tightened around Burke's throat like an iron clamp, tightening inch by inch. Burke's face was flushed red, and his eyes were bloodshot. But he still clenched his fists tightly, resisting his instincts to escape and retaliate. Escaping was equivalent to giving up. As for retaliating, even if Gu Mingming accepted him, she would never be able to get along well with Leah in the future. Gu Mingming liked Leah so much he could not offend him. Gu Mingming hurriedly jumped down from Elvis's arms and crashed into Lee's. With her back facing Burke, she did not even spare him a glance. She looked up at Leah with her clear eyes and said, "I want a hug." Leah lowered his head and met Gu Mingming's coquettish look. His malevolent aura gradually dissipated, and his hand slowly returned to his own, transforming into fox claws before reverting back to human hands. The blood stains on them were all gone, and they were clean and spotless, as if they had never been stained with blood. Carrying Gu Mingming, he turned and left without even giving Burke a glance. After walking for a long distance, so far that even with Gu Mingming's hearing, she could not hear any news from her tribesmen, Leah then found a tree to lean against in satisfaction. He circled Gu Mingming in his arms and slowly closed his eyes. Lee's large tail was wrapped around Gu Mingming's waist. The side of her face was pressed against his chest, while his chin rested gently on the top of her head. I feel like I'm losing more and more control over my emotions. Lee's voice was filled with fatigue and a tinge of helplessness as he said, "You are becoming more and more important to me every day. My tolerance towards other males who try to get close to you is getting lower and lower by the day. If this goes on, I really can't guarantee that I won't be able to hold back when Borg comes to invite you again." Gu Mingming also felt the recent changes in Leah. Although he no longer showed any aggressive expressions towards Elvis, she could always see Lee's resentful look when Elvis hugged her. That was why she had been unwilling to accept 2 partners from the start. Not everyone could enjoy the happiness of having multiple partners. Gu Mingming knew that she had lost out to Leah and Elvis in the world of relationships. So even though she knew that Leah was not in a good mood recently, she could not criticize him, or even abandon him like other females. Chapter 690. Your gentleness will only make me more greedy. Leah hugged Gu Mingming even tighter. The tiredness on his face was washed away by his helpless doting towards her. Many a time, it was not that males were not jealous, but because they were afraid of being abandoned, they suppressed their jealousy. If Gu Mingming had directly warned him that, if you continue like this, I will abandon you, perhaps he would not have dared to show such obvious hostility towards Gu Mingming's suitors. But what could he do? Gu Mingming had never lost her temper at him even once. Only when he was about to lose control and kill someone would she coquettishly bring him away to calm him down. This tacit and even conniving attitude made him so infatuated with her. It was an indescribable sense of superiority, as if telling every suitor of Gu Mingming, as long as I don't die, you will always be my slave. Gu Mingming chuckled. You are jealous because you care about me. Do you want me to lose my temper because of your concern? Leah asked. If I really kill Burke, won't you be angry? Gu Mingming thought about it. I might be a little angry. Leah frowned. Why? Are you touched by Burke? What happened to your ruthlessness towards me in the past? Why are you so soft-hearted towards Burke? Gu Mingming looked up and poked Lee's head. What are you saying? What I mean is that Burke is a member of Saint Nazaire. Didn't you and Elvis set the rule long ago that the people of Saint Nazaire will not kill their own people? If you break this rule because I did not give you a sense of security, I might be a little angry at myself. Leah was taken aback. He pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and continued to press his chin against Gu Mingming's head. Gu Mingming, after we capture Cole and wake Qixian up, let's go find the kiss of the ocean. Gu Mingming froze. She frowned and looked down. Her voice was trembling. You know about the kiss of the ocean? Leah was so sensitive. How could he not notice Gu Mingming's strange behavior? He held Gu Mingming's shoulders and looked at her sparkling eyes. My father once told me that the kiss of the ocean is the essence of the ocean. It can cleanse and contain everything. So I was thinking, if we could find it, maybe we could wash Snake's poison off your body so we could mate. Gu Mingming nodded stiffly, instinctively avoiding Lee's eyes. Leah lifted Gu Mingming's chin with his well-defined fingers, not allowing her to avoid his gaze. With a probing gaze he asked, What are you worried about? Tell me. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and shook her head. Nothing. Leah did not speak for a long while, and just hugged Gu Mingming in his arms. He sighed and said, I know you are hiding it, but I don't dare to pursue. What should I do? This feeling seems to be more unbearable than Berg's pursuit of you. I want to know the truth, but I also feel that the truth might torture me to the point of insanity. Gu Mingming did not say anything and just hugged Leah back gently, until Leah had already fallen asleep. She then said softly, Don't worry, I won't leave you guys. This sentence made Leah feel as though he was struck by lightning. His entire body froze. Chapter 691. At that time, she said that Snake knew the way to transmigrate back to her original world, but she did not listen. She told Snake not to say it. She said she did not want to know. She did not want to go back. But now, she had inherited all of Snake's memories. And in all of these memories, other than the endless loneliness, it also included that method. His mind felt like it was exploding. Leah felt countless thoughts churning in his head, but he suddenly could not grasp anything. Other than hugging Gu Mingming even tighter, he actually had no other way to ensure that she would not leave. After a long while, he stood up shakily and said, Let's go back, Elvis will be anxious. Yeah. Gu Mingming did not refute, and let Leah carry her back to their original spot. When they returned, Burke had already been sent away by Elvis. Leah placed Gu Mingming back into Elvis's arms. Seeing how Elvis was using one hand to support Gu Mingming's little butt, while Gu Mingming was leaning her head on Elvis's shoulder with a troubled look, Leah felt uneasy for no reason. He grabbed Elvis's hand that was hanging by his side and placed it on Gu Mingming's back, then pressed it down tightly. His eyes were filled with unease as he exhorted, Hug her tightly, hug her tightly. Elvis did not understand and looked at Leah in confusion, asking, What's wrong? These few days, Lee's emotions were not normal, openly and secretly snatching Xiaoming away from him. He would never let go when he could hug her. Why did he push Xiao Meng back into his arms today? Leah shook his head and said, Meng Meng is hungry, I will go hunt. Before Elvis could say anything else, Leah had already transformed into a fox and ran away. It was just hunting. Did he need to transform into his original form? Elvis looked in the direction that Leah disappeared in a daze, but did not say anything else. He just lowered his head to look at Gu Meng Meng, who was obviously not in a good mood, and asked, Did you quarrel with Leah? Gu Meng Meng shook her head, but did not say anything. Elvis patted Gu Meng Meng's little head lightly and said, Leah is becoming more and more out of control recently. If he made you angry, he will definitely be more upset than you. How about this? When he comes back, I'll teach him a lesson for you. Don't be so depressed, okay? Gu Meng Meng looked up and pursed her lips. After hesitating for a moment, she still opened her mouth and said, Elvis, ever since I inherited Snake's ability, I have never done that with you. Do you hate me? Elvis's heart skipped a beat. Gu Meng Meng remembered that she had inherited Snake's abilities. But what Elvis remembered was the scene where Gu Meng Meng was almost killed by Ellie because of his incompetence. He would always remember the day when Snake appeared in front of him, carrying a badly mutilated Gu Meng Meng. She was so badly injured that she was on the brink of death, and he could not even stand up to carry her. How weak. Those two words were like a knife that constantly tortured his heart. He had to become stronger in order to protect her. And now, she had become a little poisonous person that he could not touch. Was it not because he was too weak to protect her? Blame her? Why should he blame her? He was thankful that she hadn't abandoned him because of his incompetence. Chapter 692. For some reason, Elvis's heart skipped a beat. If he found the heart of the ocean, he would be able to press Gu Meng Meng under his body and love her fiercely like before. What an exciting piece of news. He never dared to mention this matter, but it did not mean that he did not desire it. It was just that this desire was always accompanied by a strong sense of guilt, causing him to be intimidated and never mention it again. But Gu Meng Meng's but was like a meteorite falling from the sky, directly smashing into Elvis's chest. The instant impact made him unable to feel any pain, but suffocating and painful. He sealed Gu Meng Meng's lips with a kiss. He did not want to hear her, but they kissed for a long time, lingering with unease. Only after Elvis had sucked all the air out of her lungs did he slowly release her lips. He pressed his forehead against hers lightly and panted deeply. His warm breath landed on the tip of her nose, and his blue eyes were filled with desire. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly, and when he opened his mouth again, his voice was full of hoarseness, hitting against her heart with every word. Gu Meng Meng's eyes were filled with longing, and her Adam's apple bobbed slightly. When he opened his mouth again, his voice was full of hoarseness, hitting against her heart with every word. Xiao Meng, I love you. This was the secret signal that Gu Meng Meng told Elvis when they were mating. If he needed comfort, companionship, if he needed her, he would tell her, Xiao Meng, I love you. Her males were just that smart and sensitive. Gu Meng Meng believed that even though she did not finish her sentence, her two males understood what the kiss of the ocean meant. Although it was equivalent to their blissful sex life, it was also equivalent to activating the gears of fate and pushing the doors of time and space. So they both chose to become her soul partners. Even if they had no sex for the rest of their lives, they did not want to take the risk of losing her. If there was anything in this world that they did not even have the courage to challenge, it would probably be Gu Meng Meng. The fire had been burning for a long time. Oriton, who always shared meals with them on time, had already brought back the hunted animals and prepared them. But Leah, who had gone out to hunt, had not returned yet. Gu Meng Meng was a little worried, but did not know what to do. She turned to look at Ian, who was resting on a tree branch with his eyes closed. She hesitated for a moment before saying, Ian, can I trouble you to help me look for Leah? Ian lowered his head and looked at Gu Meng Meng with disdain. Won't he be back after you twist his ear? Gu Meng Meng was stunned for a moment, not understanding what Ian meant. Ian didn't explain further. He impatiently snorted, but still flapped his wings and flew out. Gu Meng Meng had not been in the kitchen for a long time. After all, Lee's culinary skills were so much better than hers. But Leah was not around today, and Oriton was not her male. He had already provided the prey by sharing the meal. There was no reason for him to be the cook. As for Elvis, Gu Mingming felt that his cooking might be even more poisonous than snake venom. Chapter 693. Strangely, it was already sunset, but Leah did not return. Ian, who went to look for him, did not return either. Even the 3 young ones and Burke, who were supposed to report back at this time every day, did not return. The disappearance of these few people caused the original journey to be delayed again. Gu Mingming vaguely felt that something was wrong and felt uneasy. "Hubby, why don't we go take a look?" Gu Mingming looked at Elvis and said. Elvis nodded and carried Gu Mingming in his arms. He did not know what happened to Ian, and did not care why Burke and the 3 young ones did not return. But Lee's absence was a very serious problem. With Lee's personality of wanting nothing more than to stick with Gu Mingming, even if he heard Gu Mingming's and escaped, he would not roll back without sorting out his thoughts for the entire afternoon. If Leah left Gu Mingming, he would either be dead or kidnapped. Gu Mingming would be heartbroken no matter which outcome it was. So Elvis's expression was very solemn. He had to find Leah. With that thought, Elvis transformed into his beast form and threw Gu Mingming onto his back. Gu Mingming knew that Elvis's sense of smell and hearing were the most sensitive when he was in his beast form. So without a word, she laid on Elvis's back and let him gallop into the darkness. The wind whistled beside their ears. It was clearly a warm season, but Gu Mingming felt a chill. Her fingers seemed to be unable to withstand the blood. Her fingertips were white and cold. They galloped across the horizon under the hazy moonlight. Elvis and Gu Mingming used all their senses to search for even the slightest trace of them in the darkness. And when Elvis and Gu Mingming finally found Leah, they only saw him covered in blood and with bloodshot eyes. He was fully armed with his claws and fangs, looking very much like Naruto Uzumaki in Naruto. Like an Asura crawling out from hell, he trampled all the bones into a red spider lily. He seemed to have discovered Gu Mingming and Elvis, but he just stood there and stared at them. He did not move, and his eyes were bloodshot. And beside Lee's feet, there was a gray wolf with its skin torn and flesh torn, 4 young ones covered in blood, and an eagle owl with its wings folded in a strange posture. Gu Mingming was so shocked that she could not speak. She covered her mouth and did not know what to do. Elvis transformed into his human form and shielded Gu Mingming behind him. He frowned, glared and clenched his fists. He gritted his teeth and said, "Xiaoming, I'm sorry. I might have to do something to make you sad." Before Gu Mingming could react to what was happening, she saw Elvis charging towards Leah. Without any hesitation, Elvis's claws went straight for Lee's heart. But Leah seemed to be prepared for it. With a tilt of his body, he easily dodged Elvis's attack. At the same time, he opened his mouth and bit Elvis's arm with all his might. Elvis felt the pain and retracted his arm with all his might. Then, he used his other hand to hit the back of Lee's neck. Leah loosened his grip abruptly, and Elvis's palm landed directly on his forearm. With a crack, it was the sound of bones breaking. Elvis's hand drooped down like a pendulum, followed by a deafening howl of a wolf. Leah pounced forward and bit Elvis's throat. His eyes shone with a murderous glint, as if he wanted to kill him. Out of topic. This on the first day of March, I unexpectedly caved. This is a miraculous coincidence. You have to believe that I did not do it on purpose. Just like that, March was still very beautiful. Chapter 694. No! Gu Mingming roared, and ran over immediately. Gu Mingming successfully attracted Lee's attention. He was stunned for half a second before he pushed Elvis away, and ran towards Gu Mingming. Then, he carried Gu Mingming on his shoulders, and sprinted in the opposite direction. Gu Mingming almost vomited from Lee's jolts, but she did not stop his craziness. After running for an entire night, when the sun rose the next morning, they were already in an extremely dense forest. Leah gradually slowed down his footsteps and looked around in a daze. With furrowed brows, he placed Gu Mingming down from his shoulders. Looking at her pale face, his brows furrowed in heartache. Pursing his lips, Leah could not open his mouth to explain. How could he explain? He started drugging Elvis 7 days ago, and made use of Elvis's absolute trust in him to weaken Elvis's body unknowingly, so that he could not unleash his 5th-level orc powers last night, so that he could steal her away? Her eyesight was so good. She must have clearly seen his despicable face yesterday. Now, what could he say to her? Gu Mingming leaned against a huge tree that required 5 to 6 people to hold hands, and slowly sat down. She heaved a sigh of relief, and looked up at Leah. Smiling, she asked, "Not running anymore?" Leah nodded slightly, and did not say a word. He just quietly waited for Gu Mingming to question and blame him. "But, the next time you want to go on such a long journey, can you turn into your original form, and carry me while running? My stomach feels so uncomfortable carrying you on my shoulders." Leah. Gu Mingming looked up, and saw Lee's shocked and confused gaze. She chuckled and said, "After running for an entire night, I am hungry and thirsty. Aren't you going to prepare something for me to eat?" Leah opened his mouth, but the words he wanted to say were stuck in his throat. After a few twists and turns, they finally condensed into one. Leah looked around and saw a fruit tree not far away. The fruits on the tree were plump and moist. He quickly walked over and plucked 2 of them. Wiping them on his beast-skin skirt, he passed them to Gu Mingming and said, "Eat this first to fill your stomach. I will go hunting later and make more delicious food for you." Gu Mingming took the fruits and smiled with her eyebrows arched. She said, I didn't expect to be able to eat peaches here." "Peach?" Leah asked softly. Gu Mingming nodded and said, "We had this thing at our previous place too, but it was not as big as this one." Gu Mingming took a bite. It was moist and the juice was sweet. She squinted her eyes in satisfaction, and passed the other peach to Leah. "Oh, delicious. Here's one for you." Leah shook his head, and just looked at Gu Mingming quietly. He was thinking, if he had been a little more selfish back then, and let go of all the hatred and revenge earlier, when Mingming wanted to give him her one, he would have brought her away like now, and hidden her in the deep forest, never letting the messenger of the beast deity appear. Then, would she not have to experience all that pain and torture? And could she have avoided all these years of wandering from place to place? Just like now, she would smile sweetly at a fruit, and share one for him to taste. Leah pushed the peach back into Gu Mingming's arms, then planted a light kiss on her forehead. "Mingming, I love you. Mingming, I'm sorry." Chapter 695. Leah was taken aback. He shook his head and said, "I will never abandon you." Gu Mingming nodded in satisfaction. She took another bite of the peach and said, "Usually, saying sorry after saying I love you is to break up with you. If you have no intention of abandoning me, then don't give me such a combination punch, or else I will misunderstand." Leah did not expect Gu Mingming to have such a reaction. He could not understand her trick at that moment. After hesitating for a long while, Leah asked carefully, "Aren't you angry?" Gu Mingming had already finished the first peach. The peach pit was quite big, and Gu Mingming kept it in her pocket. Then, she looked up at Leah and said, "Why should I be angry? Because you kidnapped me to go on a honeymoon, and spend some alone time with me?" From the story that Gu Mingming told Sandy in the past, Leah understood what a honeymoon was, and what it meant to spend some alone time. In a certain sense it was true. Leah nodded blankly, agreeing with Gu Mingming's words. Gu Mingming chuckled and patted Lee's shoulder. She said, "You were so smug yesterday. Elvis will not let you off easily when we return. It's good that he is the first partner to maintain order in the family. As for me, since I'm out, I'll just enjoy myself." Leah thought that Gu Mingming would make a fuss with him, punish him, or even kill him. But he never expected Gu Mingming to have such an attitude. Pursing his lips, Leah tried to ask, "What if I say we're not going back?" Gu Mingming chuckled, and touched the black wolf mark on her collarbone. She said, "You'd better think about how you're going to deal with the aftermath when Elvis comes looking for you." Leah did not say anything. He just kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "All right, before he comes looking for us, let's go on a honeymoon and enjoy some alone time." Gu Mingming nodded, and took a big bite of the second peach. Saint Nazir was probably in a mess now. But Gu Mingming believed that Leah would not do anything to hurt her. There must be a reason for everything he did. But since he refused to say, she would not ask. What she could do was to give him absolute trust, and not repeat the mistake of Nina's incident. There must be no more misunderstandings between them. For the next 3 days, Gu Mingming and Leah lived the same life as when they were dating. Every day, Leah would bring Gu Mingming around, as if they were on a sightseeing tour, accompanying her to watch the stars, the moon and the sunrise. Hunt for her, cook for her, shelter for her. Gu Mingming did not ask what had happened that night, or what they were doing now. She also never mentioned returning to Saint Nazaire. On the other hand, Leah was immersed in this happiness day after day. The malevolence from that night no longer appeared on his face. It was a quiet and strange night. Gu Mingming slept beside the bonfire, while Leah used his chest to make a bed for her. His furry large tail covered Gu Mingming's body gently. Looking at her sleeping face, he could not help but frown. Crunch, crunch. There was the sound of footsteps stepping on the withered leaves that had fallen to the ground. Step by step, it approached slowly. Chapter 696. Looks like she doesn't like the beast pet I prepared for her. Cole stood a distance away from the fire and stared at Gu Mingming's sleeping face without hiding, as if he was looking at something that belonged to him. He chuckled and said with a perverted pampering, "That's right, she always has good taste. In this world, only I am worthy of her liking." Leah gently retracted his hand from Gu Mingming's neck and slowly stood up. He faced Cole with a blank and lifeless gaze. "You are indeed the ninth highness blessed by the beast deity. You actually managed to snatch our Gu away from that wolf." In a flash, Cole appeared in front of Leah at a speed that was almost as fast as teleportation. He grabbed his neck harshly and smiled. "You no longer have any value to live. Die in peace, ninth brother." Cole retracted his fingers slowly and decisively. His gaze was cold and the corners of his lips curved upwards. Lee's suffocating and dying look was so pleasing to his eyes. Suddenly, Cole felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down in disbelief at the sharp claws that had pierced into his chest. His battle instincts reacted faster than his brain. He swung the hand that was holding Lee's neck violently and threw Leah away. Leah rolled one round on the ground and then slid far away. But he still stood firmly on the ground and did not fall down pathetically. Looking at the blood stains on his hands, Leah smiled enchantingly like a ghost. He waved his tail and said, "Long time no see, my dear second brother." "You?" Cole was stunned for a moment but quickly recovered. He chuckled and said, "You cured me of my poison?" Leah looked as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world and said in disdain, "You overestimate yourself by using poison in front of a witch doctor." Cole narrowed his eyes and laughed coldly, without caring about the wound on his chest. He said, "It doesn't matter. So what if you cured me of my poison? You are just a 3rd-level orc, and I am Cole at the peak of 5th level. As long as I kill you and replace you, everything will be over." Leah raised his brows and replied coldly, "Oh, don't you regret not being able to see Mingming kill me with her own hands?" Cole gave a low laugh and said, "I thought that Agu would kill you in anger after seeing you kill Burke and hurt those 4 wolf pups and Elvis. I'm really looking forward to seeing your expression when you die in the hands of the female you love. Unfortunately, Agu seems to really like you. You made such a big mistake, but she didn't even scold you. So I've changed my mind. Killing you is a small matter. I'll do it myself." With that, Cole suddenly charged towards Leah with a cold and sinister murderous aura. The difference in level was absolute. Although Cole was missing a tail and an arm, he could already easily control his balance and use his missing arm to make some compensatory attacks after these few days of practice. So when he attacked Leah head-on, the difference in their levels caused Lee's heart to be under immense pressure. He felt as though he was about to explode from suffocation. Instinctively, he gave in and knelt down, but there was another reason for him to fight against this instinct. His long and narrow eyes were filled with determination and cruelty. Leah slammed his palms on the ground and used the force to jump up. Aside from the topic, "Cole, I heard that there are people calling me out in the comments section." "Yeah, I'm out now. So, you wicked people, are you happy?" Gu Mengmeng. If you die, everyone should be even happier, Cole. If it's what you want to see, I'm willing to sacrifice my life for you. But, are you willing to let your handsome and adorable son die with me? Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth. Chapter 697. Lee's legs accurately locked onto Cole's waist, and both his hands were under Cole's armpits to restrain his hands. His large tail was wrapped around Cole's neck, and his entire body was like a rope, restraining Cole firmly. Cole jerked his head backwards and hit Lee's nose heavily. Blood spurted out from his nose, but Leah did not care at all. He tightened his tail, and was determined to kill Cole. Cole narrowed his dangerous eyes and looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was still sleeping by the bonfire. He laughed coldly, and released his fifth-level beast pressure, forcefully shaking Leah off his body. Lee's entire body was pressed into the ground, and he could not even lift his head. It was as if every inch of his bones had been smashed into pieces. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, but there was a sly smile on his face. Lee's chest tightened, and his eyes became unfocused for a moment. What did you do? Cole reacted instantly, and grabbed onto Lee's neck to interrogate him. Leah had suffered serious internal injuries. He coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was clearly weak, he had a victorious smile on his face. Hand over Qishuan's antidote and I will tell you how to cure your poison. Cole held his forehead and chuckled coldly. Half of his face was hidden in the darkness, and he exuded a sinister and terrifying aura. As long as I replace your position by Agu's side, do I still need to be afraid of any poison? Cole slowly pulled Leah closer to him. His smile was twisted and sinister. Don't you know that Snake's tear of the beast deity is immune to all poisons? As long as I mate with her once, what poison can't I cure? Leah snorted without backing down. Seems like you don't know much about the tear of the beast deity. Cole loosened his grip, and threw Leah to the side. He squatted down and used his beast pressure to suppress Leah. What do you mean? Leah spat out the blood and saliva in his mouth. Then, he placed one hand on the ground, and the other on his chest. Gu Mengmeng's entire body is now filled with poison. If you mate with her, you will be poisoned to death. Cole laughed coldly and said, Ninth Highness, your lying skills are too bad. If she can't mate, how did you leave your mark on her ear? Lee's gaze was cold and filled with disdain. So what if I'm lying? Do you think you still have the ability to force her today? Cole frowned in disapproval and said, I did not force her back then. All the more I won't force her now. I just want to take your place. Leah frowned and clenched his fists tightly. Cole's current expression was far uglier and more twisted than when he had banished him back then. But he could not find the anger and hatred he had back then. Unclenching his fists, Leah shook his head in disdain. I have already given you a chance. It would have been great if you had obediently handed over Qishuan's antidote. At least, your corpse would have been intact. Cole did not have the time to understand Lee's words. His battle instincts made his body react immediately. His legs sprang backward and he ran far away. Leah was no longer at his original spot, and was replaced by Elvis, who was emitting a murderous aura. Your hand. Cole was stunned. Chapter 698. Elvis and Cole were fighting. The destructive power of a fifth-level beast was equivalent to the effect of an atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima. Leah was not in the mood to watch the fight. He quickly retreated to Gu Mengmeng's side to protect her. But when he arrived, he realized Gu Mengmeng had long woken up, but she remained in a lying position without moving. Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng then propped herself up and smiled at Leah. Can I wake up now? Leah nodded and said, You know everything? Gu Mengmeng reached out to support Leah. Are you an idiot? You knew he would come today, but you still drugged me during dinner? Leah gave a bitter smile. Although you are extremely powerful now, I still want to do my best to protect you. Gu Mengmeng sighed in exasperation. I could have just done it myself, but you just had to injure yourself all over. Leah shook his head. He hugged Gu Mengmeng gently. If I didn't injure myself, how could I coax you into forgiving me for acting on my own? Bam! With a loud crash, a huge crater was formed beside Gu Mengmeng. Turning her head, she saw Cole embedded into the ground by an external force. Meanwhile, Elvis was stepping on his shoulder with one foot, looking down at him from above. He was like a death god who ruled over all living beings, coldly watching over life and death in the world. Gu Mingming stood up and walked to Elvis. She hugged him gently and kissed his chin. It was a greeting after these few days of separation. Then she leaned against Elvis's chest. Looking at Cole, she said, "Hand over Qishuan's antidote, and I will let you go." Cole looked up at Gu Mingming. There was a destructive fervor in his eyes. He wiped the blood from the side of his mouth. Maintaining a smile that he thought was elegant, he said to Gu Mingming, "Ah Gu, do you think I am a coward who is afraid of death?" Gu Mingming was expressionless. "I don't care if you are afraid of death. I just don't want to dirty my hubby's hands. So give me the antidote and get lost. Don't ever let me see you again." Cole did not seem to be affected by Gu Mingming's words at all, no matter how sharp her words were. He looked as if he was enjoying listening to her sweet words. He replied, "If you are willing to leave with me, not just the antidote, I can even give you the entire beast world." Gu Mingming chuckled and squatted down to get closer to Cole. "You know, I inherited Snake's memories. In his inherited memories, there were many ways to torture people. I can easily make you suffer, but I won't let you die. Do you want to try?" Cole opened his chest and smiled dotingly. "It is my honor that Agu wants to torture me. I will seriously enjoy every bit of your love and accept all the torture you give me." Gu Mingming was disgusted. She was really disgusted. Cole was totally a perverted and twisted masochist now, with a come and whip me look. Every word he said was disgusting. Gu Mingming took a step back. Her face was filled with disgust and disgust. Cole smiled triumphantly. "Huh, so Agu can't bear to bully me." Chapter 699. Gu Mingming glanced at him and asked, "What do you want?" It was the most ideal condition to be able to negotiate. She did not mind if Elvis really killed Cole, but she did mind if Cole was the only one who knew how to save Qixuan. Kiss of the ocean, love of the sky, soul of the forest, heart of the desert and spirit of the rocky cliffs. Gu Mingming's face darkened with every word Cole said. By the time he said the last word, Gu Mingming's entire face had turned as black as ink. Cole chuckled and stretched out 3 fingers. "Be my female and stay by my side forever. I will give you everything in this world. Find the things I want and give them to me. Or, let that little wolf cub sleep forever, neither alive nor dead. Which will you choose?" Gu Mingming clenched her fists tightly and glared at Cole. Her chest heaved up and down violently as traces of the Beast King's aura leaked out uncontrollably from her body. Elvis quickly retreated to Gu Mingming's side and hugged her tightly, not caring about Cole's life or death. "Xiaoming, don't be agitated. Leave it to Leah and me." Elvis's voice reverberated in Gu Mingming's ears for a while, soothing her emotions like a warm spring. Slowly releasing her tightly clenched fists, Gu Mingming looked at Cole coldly and said, "I will find these 5 things for you. But if you dare to go back on your words, I guarantee that you will suffer a fate worse than death." With that, Gu Mingming turned to leave. Elvis looked at Cole and ignored him. He just carried Leah and chased after Gu Mingming. Cole laid on the ground weakly and coughed out a laugh. Blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth, and he casually wiped it away. Looking at Gu Mingming's back, his gaze was filled with a strong desire to win. He murmured softly, "In the end, you will still stay by my side. Why did you have to go through so much trouble?" Elvis had already arranged for most of the troops to return to Saint Nazaire to settle down. Lee's injuries were very serious, and he was not suited for a long journey. So Gu Mingming and the rest were not in a hurry to rush back. They just found a cave to stay temporarily and let Leah recuperate. The fire made the cave very dry. Gu Mingming sat by the fire and looked at Leah, who was lying on the hay with a guilty look, and Elvis, who was sitting beside Leah with his head lowered and not saying a word. With a snap, Gu Mingming broke the firewood with her bare hands and threw it into the fire. This crisp sound scared the 2 males so much that they shivered. "Are you going to tell me yourself, or do you want me to ask?" Elvis suddenly raised his head and took a step forward. He was the one who came up with the idea. "I was only in charge of beating people up." Gu Mingming raised her eyebrows and sneered. He's really quick at shifting the blame. Leah forced himself to sit up on the bed and trembled as if he was about to die. He coughed twice and said in a weak voice, "Meng Meng, it's all my fault, cough cough cough. If you want to blame someone, blame me." Gu Meng Meng gave them a smirk like a wife and said, "Looks like in the years before I came, the rapport you two had developed included this?" The first plan had been seen through. Elvis sat back on the bed awkwardly, and Leah also laid back down obediently. There was a visual effect of pressing a rewind button, as if they had returned to 3 minutes ago. Snap! Gu Ming Ming broke another piece of firewood and threw it into the fire. Her gentle voice had a sinister threat. Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. Oh. Chapter 700. The mastermind behind that stray beast attack was Cole. Elvis said. Gu Mingming nodded and said, "I know. It was to pave the way for Burke to stay by my side. Didn't we already guess this long ago?" Elvis shook his head and said, "Cole wanted us to think this way, so he purposely left his scent on Burke. But in actual fact, Cole's real motive was to test your abilities and to drug Leah." Cole knew that Gu Mingming had inherited Snake's abilities, so it was understandable for him to use stray beasts to test her. But what the hell was he doing to drug Leah? Leah propped his body up and leaned against the wall. Although he was not as weak as he had acted just now, the battle with Cole had indeed taken a huge toll on him, and he was very weak. Even his voice sounded a little weak and floaty, sounding very weak. That day, after you released your beast pressure, everyone fainted. It was at that time that Cole placed a medicinal bug in Forget-Me's ear. Gu Mingming frowned and asked, "What medicinal worm?" Leah said, "An ancient secret skill passed down in the Snow Fox tribe. It can disturb a person's mind, allowing them to be guided and controlled by the worm master." Leah looked at Gu Mingming's concerned gaze and smiled very gently and blissfully. He was satisfied with Gu Mingming's concern for him, and also satisfied with her caring. This kind of worm is very difficult to rear. It must be soaked in a special medicine from birth. Only the tribe leader knows the formula of this medicine, although the witch doctor has the antidote, as the illness is a slow process of amplifying one's original emotions. Under normal circumstances, the person who is drugged will not notice the change, and the surrounding people will only think that the person who was drugged was agitated by something and became very anxious. No one will care why a male becomes like this. Everyone will just distance themselves from him and abandon him. Leah chuckled, as if he was talking about someone else's matter. Gu Mingming sighed and asked, "Then when did you realize that you had been drugged?" Leah pretended to ponder and said, "Probably. It was when I first showed jealousy towards Elvis." A slow process of amplifying one's original emotions? Gu Mingming lowered her head. So Leah had always been jealous of Elvis? Jealous that he was the first partner and could hug her at any time? Or was she envious that although he didn't get along well with the wolf pups, he still had his own offspring? As for Leah, although he had the title of partner, other than the mark on her ear, she did not seem to have given him anything else that could make him feel at ease. Leah seemed to understand Gu Mingming's first emotion. He waved at her and said, "My body is weak now, so I can't go over." Then, "Can you come over and let me hug you?" "MMM?" Gu Mingming looked up at Leah. Leah smiled exceptionally gently. "If I hug you, I won't feel as much pain from my injuries." Gu Mingming stood up and did not say anything. She just walked to Leah obediently and leaned into his arms carefully, letting him hug her. Chapter 701. Gu Mingming didn't know how to reply, so she just listened quietly. Leah held the back of her head and kissed her lips. It was a very light and gentle kiss. That pair of long and narrow eyes stared deeply into Gu Mingming's eyes as he said gently, "But the jealousy you gave me made me feel very happy." Thump thump, Gu Mingming's heart was beating rapidly. They had already been together for almost a year, but she still felt seduced when Leah was so close to her and said such passionate words of love. Leah pecked Gu Mingming's little mouth lightly before placing her on his chest. He continued, "So, when I became hostile towards Elvis because of this jealousy, I realized that I might have fallen into his trap. Later on, I realized that every time Burke appeared in front of me, the jealousy and distortion in my heart would be triggered uncontrollably. At that moment, I was already certain that I had been poisoned by Cole. Why didn't you tell me? Gu Mingming's heart ached a little. A person needed the company of his family, the most when he was sick, but she didn't seem to have done anything when he was sick. She just jumped into Cole's trap like an idiot while thinking that she could capture Cole. Leah rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head and chuckled. Silly girl. Do you think I would tell you all these, and let you spend more time on Cole? I'm not stupid. Why would I allow another male to occupy my female's thoughts? Gu Mingming was rendered speechless by Lee's twisted logic. She retracted her arms from his waist and rubbed her face against his chest. Then she asked, So you decided to beat me at my own game, and not detoxify the bug poison? Leah chuckled. You guessed half right. Gu Mingming looked up and asked, Which half? Leah replied, Beating me at my own game was the right thing to do, but I already detoxified the bug poison. I'm not crazy. Why would I let Cole keep holding on to my lifeline? Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. You're smart. Leah raised his chin proudly and smiled smugly. Of course. I am the male of the messenger of the beast deity. Gu Mingming could not help but laugh at Lee's teasing. She suddenly recalled the proud look he had when he stood on the platform of the deity's punishment and announced to the world that he was her beast pet. Her heart warmed up to the max. Leah continued. Cole instigated Burke to use Kanwu, and the rest as a breakthrough point to get close to you. His motive was never to seduce you, but to stimulate the worm in my body, so that my emotions would rapidly fluctuate. Huh? Gu Mingming was a little surprised. She had thought that Cole had sent Burke to her because of her. In the end, it was actually because of Leah. Leah played with Mingming's little hand and said, Ever since he used the name, Yu Sijin, to come to Sauter, it was destined that I would pay extra attention to him. Cole had purposely left many obvious marks on his body in order to make me pay attention to him. This is a kind of psychological hint, always feeling that he will snatch you away. So using him to stimulate the bug poison is the most effective. Gu Mingming frowned and asked. So ever since Burke joined Saint Nazir, Cole had been scheming to use the bug poison to kill you. Chapter 702. Die in my hands. Gu Mingming was taken aback. He wants me to believe that you hurt Hada and his brothers, so that I will lose control and kill you. Leah shook his head and chuckled. Then it would be too easy for me to die. After all, dying in the hands of my own female is a form of happiness to a certain extent. It would be much better than dying in Cole's hands. Gu Mingming frowned. Then, Leah said, Cole's bug drug mainly stimulates my jealousy. When a person's jealousy reaches its peak, it will definitely give rise to possessiveness. He predicted that I would kidnap you and hide you, but he did not expect that you would immediately return to their side after seeing me injuring the 4 little ones and Elvis. Gu Mingming frowned. She could not wrap her head around Lee's words and did not understand what he meant. Leah chuckled. He rubbed Gu Mingming's head. If you saw your sons and Elvis injured and killed me on impulse, that would just be the price I pay for my wrongdoings. But Cole wants you to abandon me. He placed Elvis, Hada and his brothers and many other insignificant factors on one end of the scale. On the other end, there is only me, who had lost my mind and imprisoned you. He wants you to abandon me for Elvis and your children. You know, being abandoned is the real torture for a male. Of course, I, who was controlled by the bug drug, would definitely not let you go. I would do anything to keep you by my side. I would even threaten you and hurt you. In the end, you would not be able to tolerate it. Kill me and return to Elvis. As Leah spoke, he gently stroked Gu Mingming's stray hair. He chuckled. Now that I think about it, I'm really a little scared. What if you were really angry with me? One look from you is enough to kill me. Gu Mingming pinched Lee's waist gently. Now you know fear? Why didn't you inform me earlier? I could have cooperated with you guys. Ouch, ouch, it's so painful. Leah magnified his own weakness by several times and looked at Gu Mingming pitifully. He bit his lower lip and looked as if he was being defiled by someone. He said tearfully, Are you trying to murder your husband? Gu Mingming rolled her eyes and said, Yes, I should just strangle you to death. Leah pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and whispered into her ear. If you really want to strangle me to death, go ahead. I'll do whatever you want as long as you like it. Gu Mingming snorted and did not reply. Leah said, I am speaking the truth. If you want me to die, I will fulfill your wish. If you want me to live, I will protect you. My life and death, fortune and disaster, all depend on a word of yours. Li's voice was soft, like a feather gently brushing past Gu Mingming's heart. Gu Mingming's temper was appeased by him, and she cleared her throat. Don't try to bluff your way out of this. I'm asking, why didn't you tell me beforehand? Leah kissed Gu Mingming's temple and said, Because I also want to know, will you choose me? Or will you abandon me? Gu Mingming was stunned. She looked up at Leah and asked, Aren't you afraid that I can't control myself and accidentally kill you? Leah chuckled and said, If you trust me, this situation wouldn't have happened. You will know that even if I am crazy, I will not do anything to hurt you. If I don't even have this level of trust in your heart, then I might as well die. Aside from the topic, the truth of the matter has been explained. Those little baddies who suspect that Leah wanted to hurt Elvis and Gu Mingming, leave a comment saying that you love me. If you say you love me, I will forgive you then. Today's update has ended. See you tomorrow. Chapter 703. Gu Mingming sighed and said, Because we did not trust each other enough. How many failures have we gone through? I have already learned my lesson. So no matter what my eyes see, my heart will choose to trust you and Elvis unconditionally. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and rubbed his face against her neck. Gentleness and contentment shone in the deepest part of his eyes. He kissed the side of her face and said, Thank you, I love you. Gu Mingming leaned into Li's arms and chuckled. Don't think that I will let you off just because you said a few nice words. Why did you drug my dinner? Li's body stiffened like a child who had done something wrong. He muttered softly, You are afraid of blood. Sigh. It was that perverted coming-of-age ceremony again. Ever since that coming-of-age ceremony scared her to tears, no matter how she tried to explain, Elvis and Leah were sure that she was afraid of blood. But the heavens knew that there was a 1,000-year lonely soul in her body, and it just so happened that this soul was the coldest and most bloodthirsty soul in the world. In her memory, there were so many bloody scenes that she had become numb to them, and could not even feel a trace of it. How did you know that Cole would definitely come today? Gu Mingming could not be bothered to explain that she was not afraid of blood, because the two of them would not believe her no matter how hard she tried. Leah narrowed his eyes slyly and said, Because he is greedy. Huh. Gu Mingming did not understand. Leah gently stroked Gu Mingming's hair and whispered into her ear, He thought that you would definitely choose to abandon me in the face of such a great disparity between the two choices. But you didn't. Not only did you not abandon me, you even accompanied me to play around without any qualms. Your love and concern for me ignited the jealousy in Cole's bones. So he would definitely appear to either snatch it or crush it. Gu Mingming tilted her head and asked, So this was your original plan? You knew that I would definitely not abandon you, and would definitely make a choice that would make Cole jealous? A tinge of hesitation and fear flashed across Li's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by luck. He chuckled and said, I believe that my Mingming will make me happy. Gu Mingming knew that no matter if it was Leah or Elvis, or any other male in the beast world, they would always be worried about their own gains and losses in love. They were in a state where they could be abandoned at any time, so it was very difficult for them to have confidence. But even so, Elvis and Leah were trying hard to believe her. But if the matter of the 5 treasures were to be revealed, would the confidence that they had accumulated with great difficulty still exist? Gu Mingming frowned, feeling a little worried. After all, Elvis was on the verge of going crazy just by getting close to the lake. Leah was hugging Gu Mingming from behind, so he did not see the slight frown on her face. But Elvis, who was facing her, could clearly see the melancholy and worry in her eyes. He slowly sat beside Leah and did not separate her from his arms. Instead, he held her little hand gently. His gaze was deep and gentle, but he did not say a single word. Leah looked at Elvis, then at Gu Mingming, who was in his arms. He searched his heart, but could not find the jealousy that could make him go crazy. Smiling, Leah kissed Gu Mingming's left ear and said softly, I feel that the way we are now is just perfect. If you are happy, I will be happy too. Aside from the topic, recommending an article by old friend Lu Xiaomei, King of Pluto's Tyrannical Love, a ghost knocks at the door in the middle of the night. It will be the second PK on the 1st of March. Everyone please support and bookmark it. Shangguan Mu had never thought that she would transmigrate into such a melodramatic era, where evil spirits ran rampant. She was also married to Ming Han. Luckily, she still had someone to rely on, so she would not have to go back to stealing. Lu Wuli, wife, what treasures do you want? Your husband will get them for you. Don't go out tonight. Xiaomu, pervert. Get lost. I got some chicken blood and dog blood today. Let's see if you like it. Lu Wuli, I like wife. Xiaomu's face flushed red. This annoying pervert. Lu Wuli admitted his mistake with a sincere attitude. Xiaomu, your husband has his own difficulties. Your husband did not want you to suffer any harm, so I did not tell you the truth. Shangguan Mu packed her luggage. Humph. Excuses. I want to marry Ma Inkue. You still dare to marry someone else. Is it because I can't serve you? Chapter 704. Gu Mingming composed herself. She did not want Elvis and Leah to worry, so she tried her best to hide the melancholy in her eyes. She asked, There is one more thing that I am very concerned about. Cole kept talking about replacing you. What does that mean? Does he think that I will like him if he kills you? Leah shook his head. He wants to use the fox seductive fragrance to bewitch you and transfer your feelings for me to him. Which means, he wants to steal our memories and make you believe that you have always loved him. Fox seductive fragrance? Gu Mingming was taken aback. Didn't you say that you had already plucked off his tail and solder, so that he could no longer emit the fox seductive fragrance? Leah pinched Gu Mingming's chin. Silly girl, the fox seductive fragrance is the fox seductive fragrance, but it might not be Cole's. Moreover, even if he still has his tail, the fox seductive fragrance he secretes can't steal memories. Gu Mingming was confused by Li's words. She had always thought that the fox seductive fragrance was similar to some kind of special drug in the modern world. It was only used to spice up fish meat. How could it have such an evil effect? Leah said, The fox seductive fragrance of males exists to please females. And the fox seductive fragrance that can please females is the truly powerful thing. Gu Mingming glanced sideways at Leah. So there are females in solder who are in cahoots with Cole? Leah nodded in agreement. Gu Mingming closed her eyes. She started to filter through all the females in solder in her memory. However, she could not think of any of them that was particularly suspicious. She looked at Leah and asked, Who could it be? Leah stretched out 3 fingers. There are only 3 females in the snow fox tribe who can secrete such a high-level fox seductive fragrance. Retracting the first finger, Leah said, Cole's ex-partner Jillian. Then he retracted his second finger and said, My brother's missing partner Leisha, whose fate is unknown. Leah looked at his last finger. It was difficult for him to speak. Gu Mingming tilted her head to look at his eyes. However, she could not understand the forbearance in his eyes. She did not want to see him wallow alone. She could only use the hand that was not held by Elvis to hold his wrist. What's wrong? Leah snapped back to reality. He took a deep breath and forced a nonchalant smile. Nothing. The other one is my father's concubine Miranda. Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment. Mingming was stunned. She instantly understood that Li's forbearance stemmed from the humiliation. Leah tightened his arms around Gu Mingming, his eyes filled with unease and pleading. He said in a hoarse voice, I didn't. I really didn't. Gu Mingming hugged Leah back and smiled warmly. She patted his back lightly and said, How can the wisest person in the beast world, Sir Leah, have times when he is muddle-headed? Gu-ee. Long, beast and you bear, master. Your mating mark is on my ear. Isn't that the best proof of your innocence? I did not suspect you then. I won't suspect you now. Leah was taken aback. Suddenly he laughed. He caressed Gu Mingming's left ear. His smile was filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. That's right. My mating mark is on your ear. Every day, I tell you the sweetest words of love. Chapter 705. Gu Mingming twisted her fingers and thought for a while before saying, I think Jillian is more likely. After all, she disappeared immediately after Cole was exiled. After all, they were once married. It's normal for her to help Cole. Leah chuckled and said, Cole kept her imprisoned in the secret room, and she even forgot how to morph into a human form. Why would she care about their relationship as husband and wife? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, There is a psychological illness in this world called Stockholm Syndrome. It means that in a situation where the victim is isolated and helpless, the victim will develop feelings for the perpetrator, and even help the perpetrator in return. This feeling will cause the victim to develop a good impression of the perpetrator, develop a sense of reliance on the perpetrator, and even help the perpetrator. Leah and Elvis fell into deep thought, as if they couldn't quite understand Gu Mingming's words. Gu Mingming said, To put it simply, Cole imprisoned Jillian for a long period of time. His appearance represents food and water. Even if he speaks badly, it is the only form of communication for Jillian. He is the only thing she looks forward to in the long darkness. Be it pain or torture, he is the only sense of existence. As time passes, Jillian's reliance on Cole will become more severe, more desperate and desperate. In fact, in this twisted desire, there was even a strange kind of love. This is the conclusion of an expert on Stockholm Syndrome. Humans can be tamed. Elvis and Leah tightened their grip, and Gu Mingming could even feel their palms sweating. What's wrong? Gu Mingming didn't understand. Leah said, I regret it, it's too scary. Gu Mingming asked, What? Leah said, If there's a flaw in my plan and Cole brings you away, and imprisons you like he did to Jillian, then, Gu Mingming chuckled and asked back, Are you afraid that I will develop Stockholm Syndrome? Leah felt uncomfortable at the thought of Gu Mingming falling in love with Cole, with such a twisted mindset. Gu Mingming smiled and said, First, he has to be able to imprison me. Elvis and Leah were stunned. They forgot that Gu Mingming had the powers of a beast king now. How could Cole alone imprison her? He understood the logic, but he still couldn't help but worry. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief and patted Leah and Elvis, saying, Since we know that Cole has someone who can provide him with a high-purity fox seductive fragrance, we just have to be more cautious. The most important thing now is to find all the things that Cole wants and exchange the antidote for Hutta. Elvis looked at Leah and asked, Do you think Cole will hand over the antidote as promised after we have gathered everything? Leah thought about it, but shook his head. Qi Xian is the only card he has that can restrain Mingming. I don't believe he will hand it over. He will. Gu Mingming murmured and took a deep breath. Raising her head again, Gu Mingming had a solemn and calm expression on her face. She said slowly, Because the 5 items he wants are part of the keys to open the doors of time and space. Opening the gate of time and space. These 6 words made Elvis and Lee's hearts ache. The overwhelming fear engulfed the uneasiness, corroding every cell in the body and every thought in the brain. She would leave, returning to the original world. As for them, there was nothing he could do. Chapter 706. Gu Mingming's eyes dimmed for a moment. She had always known that Elvis did not like children, even though he was very happy when she was pregnant. But her painful look during childbirth was like a thorn in his heart that could not be removed no matter what. Sighing, Gu Mingming held Elvis's hand and said, To open the doors of time and space, other than the 5 things that Cole wanted, I also need the tear of the beast deity and the key of the beast king. The only tear of the beast deity in this world is already in my body. As for the key of the beast king, not to mention that it does not exist in this world. Even if it does, I will not use my child to open that stupid door. The tear of the beast deity was Snake's snake gallbladder. The beast king was the most favored child of the beast deity. Orcs who could reach this level could be said to be invincible in this world, so their deaths could only be voluntary. Just because of love, He had to cut open his chest and take out his gallbladder. Even the beast deity would shed a tear for it. The tear of the beast deity was famous. And in this world, there was only one beast king snake. His snake gallbladder was already in Gu Mingming's body. As for the key of the beast king, it must be a child with the blood of the beast king. This child could only be Gu Mingming's next child. So as long as Gu Mingming was not pregnant from now on, the doors of time and space would never be opened. With this understanding, Elvis and Leah were slightly more at ease. But with Cole's sly and sinister character, who knew if he would think of other unorthodox ways? What if he used the fox's seductive fragrance to bewitch Gu Mingming again? What if he used other methods to force Gu Mingming to give birth to a child for him? Cole still had to be eliminated. Some things were not suitable for females to know. No matter how strong she was still their weakness. They could only protect her, coax her and treat her well. Sometimes, Gu Mingming also did not wish to have snake's eyes that could see through the vicissitudes of life in her heart. That gaze was too sharp, to the extent that some emotions that Elvis and Leah had tried so hard to hide were clearly exposed in her eyes. She started to understand the clarity in Snake's eyes that she couldn't understand back then. That was an insight that had been accumulated over 1,000 years. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief. She held Leah with one hand and Elvis with the other. No matter how many sons I have, I will never give up on Qi Xian. So we better think of a way to find what Cole wants. Elvis frowned and asked, "What if he really goes back on his words?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "Don't I still have the beast deity as my father? If he dares to lie to me, I'll go back and complain to my father. I'll make him die without a complete corpse." Gu Mingming did not tell Leah and Elvis that other than opening the doors of time and space, these 7 treasures could also be exchanged for a drop of tear of the beast deity. If Cole could obtain any one of the 5 items, he could become the next beast king. How powerful would he be after obtaining all 5 items? Even Gu Mingming did not dare to think about it. In order to save her son, she personally groomed a demon king in the beast world. Was this considered as letting down the kindness that the beast deity mentioned? Or giving up on her own son for the well-being of the world? Sorry, even without the influence of Snake's bloodline, Gu Mingming would not be this kind. Chapter 707. "Oh right, how are Burke and the kids?" Gu Mingming asked. Elvis replied, "Burke's injuries are not light, but he won't die. The 4 little ones were only knocked out by Lee's medicine, and would recover after a few days of being unconscious. I asked Colin to bring them back to St. Nazaire to take care of them. You don't have to worry." Gu Mingming nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. After resting for 4 days, Lee's injuries were more or less healed. Gu Mingming leaned into Elvis's arms and said with some melancholy, "Did you guys get injured often in the past? Why do I feel that after you guys got together with me, you never had a good time?" Elvis rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, "What silly words are you saying? It's normal for males to get injured." Leah also smiled and said, "That's right, if I'm not injured, how can you feel sorry for me?" Gu Mingming knew that they were comforting her again. Sandy had told her many times about Elvis and Lee's legendary deeds. Most of the time, it was about how the 2 of them cooperated to win countless dangerous battles, and how many times they escaped from hellish situations. Sandy described them as Schwarzenegger's version of the Sol Dolua, overcoming all obstacles to build St. Nazaire's current state. But after meeting her, why did the 2 of them seem to be in such a miserable state, either injured here or there? Gu Mingming smiled, and did not expose their little tricks. She just nodded and said, "Since Leah is almost fully recovered, why don't we return to St. Nazaire first? I'm a little worried about the kids, and we need to plan properly to get what we want from Cole." Elvis and Leah did not reject Gu Mingming. They had always been like this, doing whatever she said and doing whatever she wanted. To go crazy with her, to mess around with her, even if it was hell, they were willing to risk their lives to accompany her. As long as it was her, anything was fine. The 3 of them used 2 days to return to St. Nazaire. After the accident at the previous memorial, she was schemed by Cole to go to Sauter, then to the Snake King Valley, then back to Sauter. She had finally settled the matters in Solder and was about to return, but this incident happened just as she was about to reach her doorstep. It was just returning home. Why was it more troublesome than snatching a train ticket during the spring festival? As a result, when Gu Mingming stood in front of her cave, she felt dazed and unreal. What's wrong? Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's little face and asked softly. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, I'm fine, let's go home. Elvis placed her down and held her left hand, while Leah held her right hand. The three of them entered the cave side by side. Yes, they used to go home like this. On the day Leah brought them back from the platform of the deity's punishment, both of them expanded the cave entrance with one punch each, just enough for their family of three to enter and exit side by side. Hada and his brothers were not at home, and Gu Mingming was a little disappointed. She looked up at Elvis and asked, Where are the children? Are you still at Sandy's? Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, Don't worry. The scent we gave off along the way is equivalent to telling everyone that we are back. Those bastards will definitely come back later. Gu Mingming nodded and did not reply. As expected, she still couldn't get used to the smell. Chapter 708. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming's waist and said, You and Sandy can play at home. I will go hunting with Leah. Gu Mingming nodded in agreement. Leah and Elvis exchanged glances and walked out together. After exiting the cave, they transformed into their beast forms at the same time and ran forward. They were the rulers of the territory of Saint Nazir, and their long absence would make the other tribes restless. Now that they were back, they naturally had to declare their sovereignty. After running half a circle around the territory, the two of them stopped under a tree. Leah asked Elvis to wait under the tree while he climbed up the tree to dig out the bird's nest. It used its tail to form a temporary container and placed the egg inside. Then it slowly climbed down. Elvis helped to take over the bird eggs and frowned, asking, So little? Leah smiled and said, Meng Meng doesn't allow you to take everything at once. You can only take half at most. These are enough for Meng Meng to eat for at least 1 or 2 days. Tomorrow when I patrol the territory, I'll just dig out other nests. Elvis nodded and did not say a word. Saint Nazir's territory was vast, and it was not impossible to finish patrolling within a day, but the two of them did not want to leave Gu Mingming's side for too long. On the way back, Leah hunted another 2 ferocious beasts along the way. He and Elvis carried one each on their shoulders and continued walking home. Lee's expression was one of bliss. Having a place to belong to was a luxury, and he had this luxury now. Just as they were about to enter the tribe's residential area, Elvis stopped in his tracks. He frowned and asked Leah, Why didn't you level up? Leah was taken aback and turned to look at Elvis. After a while he suddenly smiled and said, You could tell. Elvis nodded. When you were fighting with Cole, I did not rush out, because I was waiting for you to level up. You had clearly reached the critical point, and you just needed to work a little harder to break through. Why did you give up? Leah lowered his head, and his gaze landed on the few bird eggs. He said with some melancholy, I promised Ming Ming that I would never let her be in a difficult position between us. Elvis, I don't understand. Leah sighed and said, Ming Ming is already strong enough now, no one can easily hurt her. Besides, don't we still have you, a 5th-level orc, at home? So it doesn't matter if I'm weaker. Was it all right? These words could fool Gu Mingming, but Elvis clearly knew that the stray beast's attack had almost taken Lee's life, causing Gu Mingming to lose control of her emotions and unleash her beast pressure. Many of her enemies and tribesmen had died, and the one to bear the blame was not Gu Mingming, but Leah, who was not strong enough. Not only did everyone blame Leah for not being able to protect his own female, he even caused her to fall into a state of mental breakdown, causing the deaths of so many tribesmen. Elvis could clearly see the sadness in Lee's eyes. As a male, he did not believe that Leah would be willing to be called a burden to Gu Mingming because of his weakness. But he clearly had the chance, so why didn't he level up? What are you worried about? Elvis asked. Leah lowered his head and avoided Elvis's gaze. He chuckled. You're thinking too much. I'm not worried about anything. Chapter 709. Leah was taken aback for a moment and blocked Elvis's path. You can't be? You're the leader of the tribe, and you're going to complain? Elvis nodded his head with a face full of righteousness. I feel that Xiaoming seems to be quite happy every time you complain. So I've decided to give it a try. Leah was speechless. He did often complain in front of Gu Mingming, especially to Snake. But he knew that he said those things just to make Gu Mingming feel more at ease. So he was just fooling around. Don't let Mingming know about this. Elvis raised his brows. Why? Leah pursed his lips and sighed. All right, I'll tell the truth. Elvis did not say anything. He just looked at Leah quietly. Lee's shoulders drooped helplessly. I'm afraid that after I level up, I won't be able to resist the urge to fight with you. The absolute suppression of levels can prevent me from forgetting my place and having some unrealistic fantasies. Those fantasies might put Xiaoming in a difficult position. I have to stop them at the root. Elvis laughed scornfully. He patted Lee's shoulder. Do you think I'll be afraid of you fighting with me? Leah shook his head. You won't be afraid. You've never taken a step back when it comes to Meng Meng. It's precisely because I know you won't back down that I don't dare to move forward. If we have a conflict, Meng Meng will be put in a difficult position. Elvis threw the prey he was carrying on his shoulder onto the ground. He straightened his body. If you continue to stay at the 3rd level, you'll still only have 10 years left. Can you bear to abandon Xiaoming after 10 years? Lee's heart thumped. He shook his head with much difficulty. Who knows what will happen after 10 years? Maybe I won't even live past 10 years. Elvis said. Xiaoming lost Snake. She's so upset that she still can't get over it. I don't dare to imagine what will happen to her if she loses you. So let go of your useless worries. Quickly grow stronger and protect yourself. Don't let Cole take advantage of you again. I don't want to see Xiaoming lose control because of you. I don't want to see Xiaoming cry because of you. This is a mission given by the first partner. As a family member, you have no right to refuse. Leah looked straight into Elvis's eyes, and after a long while, he suddenly laughed. TSK, what a domineering first partner. The appearance of the Snow Fox clan will become more and more beautiful as they level up. Aren't you afraid that if I really level up to the 5th level, Mingming will not even look at you? Elvis sneered and said in a provocative tone. You can try, if you have the ability. Leah did not say anything. He just carried his prey and continued walking home, a smile spreading across his face. So Gu Mingming's first partner had to be Elvis and not herself. The decision back then was the right one. Even though the price he had to pay and the process was a little painful, it was still a good outcome. On the other side, after Leah and Elvis left, Gu Mingming carried Qi Xian and listened to Sandy narrate the events that had happened in her absence. Holding Sandy's hand, Gu Mingming said, Sandy, thank you for this period of time. These kids must have given you a lot of trouble. Chapter 710. Gu Mingming was taken aback for a moment. She and Sandy were not as close as before. Gu Mingming could feel this. Firstly, it was because Sandy had stopped Colin from participating in the rescue battle, and she felt bad about it. Secondly, it was because Gu Mingming's mental age was more than 1,000 years old. She could not continue fooling around with Sandy without a care in the world. But there was one thing. Gu Mingming had never treated Sandy as an outsider. She was just not as close to her as before. This distance must have made Sandy very upset, right? But too many things had happened during this period of time. Gu Mingming really could not find the time to care about Sandy's feelings. As her bosom friend, this was her fault. Taking the initiative to hold Sandy's hand, Gu Mingming smiled warmly. You know, some things happened when I was in the Snake King Valley. It's very hard to control my emotions now. I'm trying my best to adapt to my new state of mind. I'm also trying my best to find my original emotions. But this matter is too difficult for me. Sandy might not know the details of what Gu Mingming had experienced in the Snake King Valley, but she had a rough idea. After all, Colin was once one of Gu Mingming's guards. In addition, She had always been concerned about Gu Mingming more than others. So although the truth that she pieced together was not complete, it was already the most she knew apart from the people involved. Sandy held Gu Mingming's hand with both her hands. Her palms were warm and soft. Her clear eyes shone with heartache. She said timidly, "I want to do something for you, anything. Gu Mingming, tell me, what can I help you with?" Gu Mingming smiled. "You don't have to do anything. Your very existence already makes me feel very warm. After inheriting Snake's memories, I may have become a little colder. But you have to believe me. I don't hate you. I don't blame you. I'm also not trying to distance myself from you. I learned many things from Snake's memories, but I forgot how I should interact with others." Gu Mingming lowered her head and looked at Sandy, who was holding her little hand. Her gaze was filled with gentleness as she said, "I am already very touched that you can hold my hand like this and listen to my helplessness." Sandy was a little emotional. Actually, she had always thought that Gu Mingming no longer wanted to be friends with her selfish self. But she said that her presence could make her feel warm. Sandy felt a lump in her throat and pounced into Gu Mingming's arms. She cried unbridledly and looked rather ugly. "Wah! Gu Mingming, I thought you would never be friends with me again." Sob, sob, sob. "You forgot, it's okay. Ah! I remember. I remember everything. Wah wah wah. I'll help you regain your memories, I'll help you." Before Sandy could finish her sentence, Leah grabbed the back of her collar and pulled her away. Sandy had been sobbing emotionally, feeling that the wall that had trapped her had finally collapsed, and she could once again truly touch Gu Mingming. The joy of regaining her only friend made her feel nothing else in her mind. Until she met Lee's dangerous gaze, all the hairs on her body stood up. Her eyes were clear and clean after being washed, clearly saying, "I'm scared." Burp, Sandy burped. Chapter 7:11. Gu. Sandy sniffled and looked at Gu Mingming pitifully. Gu Mingming face-bombed, feeling rather helpless. She tugged at Lee's arm and said, "Sandy has always been afraid of you, so stop scaring her. Must you only be happy if I lose all my friends from being scared?" But Leah was unhappy. He hooked Gu Mingming's chin, his long and narrow eyes as deep as the ocean. He slowly inched closer to Gu Mingming's lips, but did not kiss her. His ambiguous and sorrowful voice flowed into Gu Mingming's ears, mixing with Lee's unique scent and dyeing Gu Mingming's face red. "While I'm not around, you hugged my female and took one of her paws, isn't that right? Or are you using this method to hint that Elvis and I did not serve you properly during this period of time, forcing you to seek warmth from a female? MMM?" Gu Mingming suddenly realized something incredible. That was Snake's memory had 1,000 years of killing and 1,000 years of loneliness. But towards something like love, it was almost a blank. Including the snake beasts a few generations before Snake, most of them did not know anything about love. Most of them would mate with female snakes and then lay eggs. They were not interested in females and did not care about eggs at all. The only one in his 8 generations who was tainted with love was his father Weirs. But he was also a case of extreme paranoia that did not end well. As a result, Gu Mingming's reaction towards Lee's teasing was even greater than before. That feeling of her heart almost jumping out of her chest shocked and stunned her, as if she had opened the door to a whole new world. Looking at Leah, she felt as if he had a source of light. Gu Mingming, who had 2 partners, suddenly experienced the throbbing of an iron tree blossoming and an old virgin, welcoming the warmth of spring for mating. F*******. Gu Mingming's teeth started chattering as she bit her lower lip. Leah was even more shocked than Gu Mingming. He had thought that Gu Mingming would generously reward him with the word scram, and then he would be ready to let go and prepare food for her. But the way she was looking at him with a red face, even though she did not say anything, she had teased him till he could not control himself. Cough cough. Sandy cleared her throat, sniffling as she stealthily carried Qixian away from Gu Mingming's arms. Then, like a staff member who had accidentally walked into the camera, she said to Hutta and his brothers, You guys better go home with mother-in-law today. Your mother is too tired and needs to rest." Although the 3 children were still young, Due to the fact that there was no concept of chastity in the beast world, many families came to perform live when they were in the mood, so the three little ones roughly understood what was going to happen next. It was indeed inconvenient for them to be around. Thus, no one said a word and obediently followed Sandy out of the cave. After walking for a short distance, she saw Elvis, who had just brought back his prey. Cam was stopped in his tracks, raised his head and said, "Hey!" Elvis stood in front of Kanwu and looked down at this little brat, asking, "What?" Kanwu rolled her eyes at Elvis and said, "My mother is lonely and cold now. If I were you, I wouldn't have time to care about this meat. Otherwise, when my mother warms up later, you won't have anything to eat." Elvis was taken aback. He sniffed and indeed found the scent of the fox's seductive fragrance. Elvis frowned. Gu Mengmeng did not like him using the fox's seductive fragrance, but combined with Kanwa's words thud, Elvis threw the processed prey on the ground and sprinted towards the cave. Aside from the topic, the author's words, boarding the train, please fasten your seatbelt, train number 4927792773. Contact the management when boarding the train. Exclusive VIP seats for fans with 800 points. Passengers, please take note. This train does not go to kindergartens. Children who are going to kindergartens are not allowed to board. Beep. Chapter 7:12. Kanwa laughed coldly and picked up the meat on the ground. He looked up at Sandy and said, "Mother-in-law, our food for today is settled." Sandy poked Kanwa's little head and said, "Scheming against your father like this?" But Kanwa did not take it to heart and said, "I clearly helped him." Sandy did not say much, and just let the three children carry the prey that Elvis brought back, and walked back to their own cave. From that day onwards, for 2 consecutive days, Saint Nazaire seemed to have entered the mating season. Not a single female could be seen on the streets, and even the males who went out to hunt could not wait to rush home after finishing their hunts. Primitive and dispirited sounds filled the air above Saint Nazaire, and the only one who held their ground was Sandy's family. No matter how Bode and Colin pestered her, Sandy still bit her lower lip and resisted her own desires, even if her entire body was on fire. She said, "Gu Mengmeng handed the children to me. I have to take care of them. I promised. I will not lead them astray." The males in Sandy's family sat in a row at the entrance of the cave and scratched the wall. They must bring up this to Leah next time. Can you block the entrance of the cave when you are mating, and not let the fox's seductive fragrance leak out? Or you should just look after your own children, and not care about the lives of others just because you feel good. On the third day, the thick fox's seductive fragrance finally dissipated in Gu Mengmeng, who was overly fatigued, and Leah, who fainted from the poison, finally woke up. Elvis's beast skin was casually draped over his body, looking loose and lazy. The outline of his muscles was faintly discernible and tempting one's imagination. His blue eyes were filled with fatigue, and when they landed on Gu Mengmeng's delicate face, they turned into a deep gentleness like the ocean. The corners of his lips curled into a doting smile. It was not hard to tell that this was a sign of physical and mental happiness. In the past, he did not think that there was anything good about Saint Nazaire. He had only established a tribe together with Leah to kill time. This time, the situation was very tense, and he did not have the time to care about homesickness. But after returning, he suddenly felt a sense of security that he had never felt before. There was no other reason, but because this place was filled with memories of Gu Mengmeng. Ah, so this was the meaning of home. It could become a place to return to, because there was a past that you could not bear to part with here. Gu Mengmeng laid on Elvis's chest like a lazy cat, allowing his large hand to caress her head. Elvis's fingers were in her soft hair, gently caressing her scalp. There was no lust, but it was full of love. Because he was poisoned, Lee's face was a little pale, but he could not hide the smile in his eyes. He turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng from time to time, before continuing to cook for her in satisfaction. Thinking of that pleasure, Leah could feel his heart beating faster and faster. Well, the way she looked at him was beautiful. She was still worried that he was no longer the daddy Leah, who could make her blush. Now it seemed that he had been thinking too much. When it was time to eat, Oriton and Ian appeared on time. Leah frowned and glared at Oriton. You didn't even bring any prey. Are you trying to share or freeload? Oriton pointed to the direction behind him. Leah tilted his head and saw 2 large piles of meat that had already been processed. And the ingredients he used to cook just now were taken from there. Chapter 7:13. 2 days' worth of prey are all piled there. But you guys were busy mating and didn't have time to cook for me. Oriton sighed and looked at Gu Mingming with a deep gaze. Although his face was expressionless, Gu Mingming could feel a deep resentment. Was he blaming her for delaying his meal? Tsk. A foodie's resentment was really. Leah shifted his body and blocked Oriton's line of sight on Gu Mingming. He lifted his chin and said, "If you look again, I will gouge your eyes out." Oriton was still expressionless. He looked at Leah for a while and snorted in disdain. "You can't beat me." Leah laughed instead of getting angry. He said with a sinister tone, "Have you forgotten? Who is the one who cooks in our house?" With a thump, the disdain in Oriton's eyes cracked at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, it turned into a look of admitting defeat and trying to please him. He said, "You win, I won't look." Leah raised his head and snorted arrogantly. He then turned back to continue cooking. Ian shook his head and said, "What happened to your cold, cool and arrogant persona?" Collapsing over a mouthful of food. "Oriton, aren't you afraid of becoming a laughingstock if word of this gets out?" Oriton's eyes were fixed on the pot of meat stew beside Lee's hand. He did not react much to Ian's words. Other than craving, no other emotions could be seen on his face. He replied nonchalantly, "If anyone dares to laugh at me, just bite them to death." Tsk so violent. Ian's face was full of disdain. He moved closer to Gu Mingming and stayed further away from Oriton. Gu Mingming chuckled. She felt that this was a rare moment of contentment and did not want to spoil it. It was just that outsiders thought that Oriton came to Gu Mingming's house every day because he was interested in her. But in fact he only cared about her family's food. Who would believe that? The dignified messenger of the beast deity was breathtakingly beautiful. But in Oriton's eyes, she was not even comparable to a bowl of meat stew. But it was also because Oriton did not have that kind of thoughts towards Gu Mingming that Leah and Elvis allowed him to show his presence in front of Gu Mingming every day, without using any extreme methods to chase him away. Ian placed his hands behind his back and leaned back slightly. He looked up at the sky with a sense of contentment and laziness. A gentle breeze blew through his hair, and the 2 feathers above his ears trembled slightly, revealing a kind of exquisiteness, as if he was a fairy under the sun. But his face was always sickly, making people want to ask him with concern, "Dear, did you take your medicine today?" "Gu Mingming," Ian said. "Huh?" Gu Mingming responded with a single syllable. Ian glanced sideways and looked into Gu Mingming's eyes. "That Cole has been loitering around the outskirts of Saint Nazaire. Do we need to deal with him?" Gu Mingming frowned, the warmth in her eyes shattered. "He's alone." Ian nodded and said, "Yes, only one person, and he's very arrogant." Gu Mingming raised her brow. "Oh," Ian said. "With his craftiness, it is not difficult for him to hide. However, he has no intention of hiding at all. He is just moving around the outskirts of Saint Nazaire's territory unscrupulously. He is very comfortable." Gu Mingming looked at Elvis and asked, "Whose territory is connected to Saint Nazaire? Is no one doing anything about it?" Chapter 7:14. Gu Mingming played with Elvis's tail and looked at Leah. "Leah, what do you think?" Leah was stirring the meat in the pot while controlling the amount of salt. Hearing Gu Mingming's words, he turned around and smiled. "Acting so brazenly, I'm afraid he is certain that you will request to meet him. Thinking about it, it can only be because of Qi Xian." Qi Xian, Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat. Qi Xian had been unconscious for a long time. Although his breathing was steady, as if he was just sleeping, he had become thinner and thinner recently. Could it be related to Cole? Elvis gently smoothed Gu Mingming's brows. "If you want to meet him, then meet him." If you don't, I will chase him away. Kill, he could not kill him for now. He held on to Qixuan's antidote. Although he did not care about Qixuan's life, he cared about Gu Mingming's feelings. It was probably because he was afraid of harming him. But not killing him did not mean he could not beat him. Beating him half to death to vent his anger was also good. At this thought, Elvis's blue eyes deepened, emitting a chilly aura. Gu Mingming sighed. Let's meet him after the meal. It was not the answer Elvis wanted, but as long as she was happy. Orton finished half the pot of meat. Gu Mingming had a small stomach and was full in a few mouthfuls. Elvis and Leah each had a big bowl, accompanying Gu Mingming to eat. Leah played a cheap trick. He said he was weak from being poisoned and could not even lift his arms after cooking for an entire day. Hence, he laid on Gu Mingming's knees and insisted that she feed him. Feeding him was not a difficult task. The key was that Gu Mingming was leaning in Elvis's arms, and Leah was lying on her knees. This position was especially tempting. Of course, it could also be that Gu Mingming was feeling guilty and blushing uncontrollably. She wanted to reject him, but Leah lowered his eyes as if he had been abandoned. He said resentfully, "It must be because I did not serve you well, so you punished me by not allowing me to eat, right? I know I should not have been unable to control my desires and secretly tasted the nectar, causing me to faint from the poison before I could satisfy you. I won't dare to do it again. Can't you forgive me this time? In the end, it's all because you're too alluring." Gu Mingming scooped a spoonful of meat and stuffed it into Lee's mouth. She could not let this fellow speak anymore. Gu Mingming's face was about to turn into a steam locomotive. As a result, when Ian brought Cole in, the scene that he saw was Elvis sitting on the throne like a powerful emperor, with a bewitching beauty in his arms. The beauty was teasing a coquettish fox. Their bodies exuded the scent of love that had yet to fade, and Gu Mingming's body had so many faint bruises that had yet to disappear, which made the scene look especially dispirited and evil, but it made Cole's heart flutter. Compared to Elvis, who ruled over the world, he wanted to be Leah, who was trained by Gu Mingming more. Chuckling, his gaze landed on Gu Mingming's face, not concealing his possessiveness at all. Placing his right hand on his left chest, he knelt down on one knee and gave Gu Mingming an elegant European knight's bow. "Dear mistress, what can I do for you? You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.